you still want me, don't you? He whispered. And her hands began to tremble. Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. The soft hum of conversation and clinking silverware filled the air of the elegant New York City restaurant. The lighting was warm and subdued, the kind of place where every plate was a work of art and every guest seemed to exude confidence. Emma Brooks, however, didn't feel confident at all. Her reflection in the glossy window outside reminded her of her reality. Her dress was secondhand, her shoes scuffed, and her nerves were shot. Still, she had promised Jenny, her best friend, that she'd go through with the blind date. Clutching her phone, Emma stepped inside, scanning the tables. Table 7, she murmured under her breath, her heart pounding in her chest. Her eyes landed on a sharply dressed man sitting alone at a table near the back. His dark hair was neatly styled, and he seemed engrossed in his phone. That has to be him, she thought. Taking a deep breath, she walked over, forcing a bright smile. Hi, you must be Kevin. I'm Emma, nice to meet you. Liam Parker looked up, startled. He blinked at her momentarily, at a loss for words. Hi, Emma, he said, misreading her confusion as shyness. He didn't even have a chance to clarify before Emma slid into the seat across from him, her hands fidgeting nervously in her lap. Oh, I know this is awkward. Blind dates are weird, right? Jenny told me you might be a little quiet, so don't worry, I can talk enough for both of us. Liam opened his mouth to correct her but hesitated. His business associate had just texted to cancel their meeting, and something about Emma's earnest smile made him pause. She was nothing like the polished socialites and calculated networkers he usually dealt with. Instead, she seemed genuine, almost too real. He decided to play along, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his lips. Right, blind dates are something else. Emma laughed nervously, taking a sip of water. Tell me about it. Jenny's been trying to set me up for months, but I've been too busy with work, you know. Liam asked, curious despite himself. I'm a waitress, Emma admitted, fiddling with the edge of her napkin. Not exactly glamorous, but it pays the bills. Well, most of them anyway. Enough about me, what do you do? Liam hesitated. I work in tech. Tech? That's cool. Emma said brightly. Like coding and apps and stuff? I'm terrible with computers. Something like that, Liam said, his smile widening. He leaned back in his chair, studying her. Her straightforwardness was refreshing, even if it was rooted in a mistaken identity. The conversation flowed surprisingly easily after that. Emma shared anecdotes about her shifts at the diner, her struggles with paying rent, and her dream of one day opening her own art studio. Liam found himself laughing more than he had in months. Her enthusiasm was contagious. You're not what I expected, Emma said suddenly, her tone thoughtful. Liam raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Well, Jenny said you were reserved, Emma said, her cheeks flushing. But you're easy to talk to. Liam chuckled softly. You're easy to talk to, too. Emma beamed at the compliment, her nerves easing further. She was about to ask him more about his tech work when her phone buzzed. Hey Emma, where are you? I'm at table 7, looking forward to meeting you, Kevin. Her heart sank as she reread the message slowly. She looked up at Liam, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. You're not Kevin, are you? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam's smile faltered, guilt flickering in his eyes. No, I'm not. Emma's stomach churned as the reality sank in. Oh my God, she muttered, standing abruptly. I'm so sorry, I sat at the wrong table. This is so embarrassing. Wait, Liam said, standing too. Emma, it's okay, but she was already grabbing her coat and bolting for the door, her face on fire. Liam watched her go, a strange mix of regret and curiosity swirling in his chest. He had intended to correct her from the start, but now he found himself wondering if he'd ever see her again, and why the thought of not seeing her bothered him so much. Liam Parker sat in his penthouse suite later that night, staring out at the glittering New York City skyline. The faint hum of traffic below and the muted glow of the city lights usually brought him comfort, but tonight, his thoughts were elsewhere. He couldn't stop replaying his conversation with Emma at the restaurant. There was something about her, her sincerity and warmth, that felt out of place in his world of polished facades and calculated conversations. She had thought he was someone else, someone ordinary, and it had made her openness all the more intriguing. For the first time in a long while, Liam felt something. Later that evening, Emma flopped onto the couch in her small apartment, groaning into a throw pillow. Her roommate Jenny peeked over the edge of her laptop with an amused expression. "That bad, who?" Jenny asked, setting her laptop aside. Emma sat up, her cheeks still flushed from the memory. "Worse. I sat at the wrong table, Jenny. I had an entire conversation with some random guy thinking he was Kevin." Jenny stifled a laugh. "What happened?" Emma recounted the evening, her words tumbling out in a rush. "He was nice, really nice. Actually, funny too. But then I got the text from the real Kevin and I just ran out of there like an idiot." "Sounds like a rom-com setup," Jenny teased. Emma groaned again, grabbing a pillow to hide her face. "I just hope I never see him again." Jenny raised an eyebrow. "You sure about that? You said he was nice." "He was," Emma admitted, lowering the pillow slightly. "But it doesn't matter. I made a fool of myself." "Maybe it wasn't the end of the world," Jenny said with a shrug. "People make mistakes. And hey, if he was as nice as you say, maybe he didn't mind." The next morning, Liam sat in his office, absent-mindedly scrolling through emails while his assistant Claire reviewed his schedule for the day. "Cancel the lunch with Rothman," Liam said suddenly, interrupting her. Claire paused, glancing at him. "You've been distracted since last night. Did something happen?" Liam hesitated, debating whether to explain. "I met someone," he said finally. "Accidentally?" Claire raised an eyebrow. "Accidentally?" Liam leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. "She thought I was someone else. We talked. She doesn't know who I am. And for the first time in years, it felt normal." "And now?" Claire asked. "I want to see her again." Liam's tone was simple, but there was something about the way he said it that made Claire pause. "And how do you plan to make that happen?" she asked. "I have an idea," Liam said, standing up. Later that day, Emma was finishing her shift at the diner when her phone buzzed. She pulled it out, frowning at the unfamiliar number. "Hi Emma, this is Liam. I was the guy at the restaurant the other night. I know it was a mix-up, but I'd like to see you again. Coffee, maybe." Emma stared at the message, her heart skipping a beat. She showed the text to Jenny that evening, her brow furrowed. "What do I do?" Jenny grinned. "You say yes, obviously." Emma hesitated for a moment, then replied, "Okay. Coffee sounds nice." As the day wore on, she felt both excited and nervous, not knowing where this unexpected connection might lead. The next day, Emma sat at her tiny kitchen table, staring at the message on her phone. Her hands trembled slightly as she read Liam's text again. "Hi Emma, this is Liam. I was the guy at the restaurant the other night. I know it was a mix-up, but I'd like to see you again. Coffee, maybe." The words seemed simple, but they filled her with a wave of emotion she couldn't quite explain. She showed the message to Jenny, her roommate, who was lounging on the couch, scrolling through her phone. "What do you think?" Emma asked, her voice almost shaking. Jenny looked up, a teasing smile on her lips. I think you're overthinking it, she said. He's a nice guy, and he wants to meet up. Just go, it'll be fun. Emma bit her lip, hesitating. But what if he thinks I'm crazy for running out like that? Jenny shrugged. People make mistakes, Em. He probably thinks you cute for being nervous. Emma rolled her eyes, but the warmth of Jenny's reassurance calmed her nerves just a little. Okay, I'll go, she said, tapping a quick reply. Okay, coffee sounds nice. She set the phone down and exhaled slowly. She had no idea what to expect, but somehow, something inside her felt like this could be the start of something different. She couldn't explain it, but she felt it. Liam had left a mark on her already, and she wasn't sure whether it was his quiet confidence or the unexpected connection they'd shared. Either way, she couldn't deny the curiosity bubbling inside her. That afternoon, Emma found herself at a small, cozy coffee shop in the heart of the city, waiting nervously by the counter. The scent of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, and soft jazz music played in the background, but Emma barely noticed. Her mind kept drifting back to that night at the restaurant, to the way Liam had looked at her, the way their conversation had flowed so easily despite the awkward beginning. She was still trying to make sense of it when the door chimed, and she turned to see him standing in the doorway. He was dressed casually this time, in a grey sweater and jeans, his hair a little tousled but still effortlessly stylish. The moment he spotted her, his face lit up with a warm smile that made her heart skip a beat. Hey, Emma, he greeted her, walking over with the same easy confidence from their previous meeting. Hey, Liam, she replied, standing to greet him. She felt a little flustered, but she quickly tried to calm herself down. Thanks for inviting me. I wasn't sure if you'd actually follow through. He chuckled, his smile widening. I wasn't sure either, but I figured it was worth a shot. They sat down at a small table by the window, the sunlight streaming in and casting a soft glow over the space. For a moment, there was a brief silence between them. Emma shifted in her seat, nervously running her fingers over the edge of her cup. Liam, on the other hand, seemed perfectly at ease. So, tell me more about this art studio you want to open, he asked, his tone genuine and curious. Emma blinked, a little surprised by the question. She had been so used to talking about her job as a waitress, the things she struggled with, but this felt different. Well, she began, taking a deep breath, I've always loved art, you know. But life hasn't exactly made it easy to pursue that dream. I want to open a place where people can come and just create, you know? No judgment, no pressure. Just a space for people to express themselves. She spoke with such passion that Liam could see it in her eyes. She truly believed in this dream. That sounds amazing, Liam said, his voice sincere. You know, there's something really refreshing about how honest you are. Most people would have tried to impress me with something else, but you're just you. Emma's cheeks flushed at the compliment. I'm sorry if I'm boring you with all this, she said, feeling a little embarrassed. No, not at all, Liam replied quickly. I actually find it really inspiring. You're not trying to be someone else. Emma smiled, a little shyly. Well, I guess that's just how I am. I can't really pretend to be anything I'm not. There was another beat of silence, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was comfortable. Liam took a sip of his coffee, then set the cup down carefully. So, tell me about you. I know you work in tech, but what else do you like to do? Besides being quiet on blind dates, of course, she teased, her voice light. Liam laughed, the sound deep and genuine. Well, there's more to me than just tech, I promise. He hesitated for a moment before continuing. I actually work a lot on projects that help fund creative spaces like the one you want to open. My company has a charitable side, and we try to support projects that bring something real to the world, like art or community-driven initiatives. Emma's eyes widened in surprise. Really? That's amazing. I never would have guessed. He shrugged. I guess I don't usually talk about it much. People always seem more interested in the business side of things, but I think creativity is just as important. Emma's mind was spinning now, piecing together the words he had just said. "That's actually incredible," she said, her voice tinged with disbelief. "You're telling me the guy I thought was a shy tech guy is actually someone who might be able to help with my dream?" Liam smiled, leaning back in his chair. "Maybe. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the one who will make it happen, but I'm always interested in supporting projects like yours." Emma felt a flutter in her chest, a mix of hope and disbelief. Could this really be happening? Was this just a chance meeting, or was it something more? For the first time in a while, Emma allowed herself to hope that her dream might not be so far out of reach. The conversation continued to flow, and as they talked about their hopes and dreams, Emma felt a growing connection between them, something deeper than she had expected. Liam wasn't just the tech guy from the restaurant, he was someone who shared her values and, more than that, someone who made her feel seen and heard. But just as she started to feel like things were falling into place, her phone buzzed, breaking the moment. Emma glanced at it, and her smile faded as she saw a message from her landlord, * rent's overdue. If you can't pay by Friday, I'll have to find someone else. * Liam noticed her change in expression and raised an eyebrow. Everything okay? Emma swallowed, forcing a smile. Yeah, just life. You know how it is. But Liam saw through her mask of calm. There was more to this than just a missed payment. Something was weighing on her, and he could sense it. He didn't press her, though. Instead, he gave her an encouraging smile. If you ever need anything, whether it's advice, help with your studio, or just someone to talk to, I'm here. No pressure. Emma looked at him, surprised by his sincerity. Thank you, she said softly, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. Could this really be the start of something special? Only time would tell, but for now, she was ready to see where it would go. For the first time in a long time, Emma felt like maybe, just maybe, she wasn't as alone as she thought. The connection between them was real, and it had only just begun. The following week, Emma found herself walking to a small art gallery in downtown New York City, her heart pounding with excitement and nerves. It wasn't the first time she had dreamed of showcasing her artwork, but this was different. This time, she had a chance, thanks to the unexpected support from Liam. After their coffee meeting, he had kept his promise, sending her information about a charity event where she could present her art. As she walked past the busy streets and neon lights of the city, she felt like she was walking toward something much bigger than just a gallery. She was walking toward the future she had always dreamed of. When she arrived at the gallery, Emma was surprised by how beautiful it was. The white walls, the soft lighting, the subtle hum of conversations, it was exactly the kind of space she had imagined for her own studio one day. She stood at the entrance for a moment, taking it all in, trying to calm the butterflies in her stomach. She wasn't sure what she expected, but seeing it all come together felt surreal. As she made her way inside, Liam was already there, standing near a display of art. He looked up when she entered, his face lighting up with a smile that made her heart race. Hey, Emma, he greeted her warmly. You made it. Of course I did, she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. This place is amazing. Thank you for helping me get here. He waved her gratitude away with a shrug. You did all the work. I just provided the opportunity. But I'm glad you're here. They walked together through the gallery, and Emma couldn't help but feel a little starstruck by how effortlessly Liam moved through the space. People greeted him with respect, and his presence seemed to command attention. Yet, when he was with her, he was just Liam, the guy she had met by accident at the restaurant. As they walked, Liam pointed out some of the pieces on display, asking questions and offering genuine compliments. I'm really glad you decided to come, he said as they paused in front of a painting that Emma had done of a cityscape at sunset. Your work is incredible, Emma. She smiled, a little shy. Thanks. It's kind of surreal, you know? I never thought I'd be here. I've dreamed about it for so long, but, she trailed off, unsure of how to put her feelings into words. But it's happening now, Liam finished for her, his voice soft but confident. And you deserve it. Emma's heart fluttered, but before she could respond, a voice called out to them from across the room. "Liam! There you are." Emma turned to see a tall, well-dressed woman approaching. She had sharp features and an air of confidence that immediately made Emma feel like she didn't belong in this world. "Hi," the woman said, extending her hand to Emma. "I'm Claire, Liam's business partner." Emma took her hand, giving her a polite smile, but inside she couldn't shake the feeling of being out of place. "It's so nice to meet you," Claire continued. "I've heard a lot about you, Emma. I'm really impressed by your work." Emma nodded, unsure of how to respond. She could tell by the way Claire looked at her that she didn't belong in this high-class world of business suits and wealthy circles. She was just a waitress from a small apartment in the city, nothing special. But Liam didn't seem to notice. He was too busy engaging with everyone around them, and the way he was treating Emma, like she was just as important as anyone else, made her feel like maybe, just maybe, she could fit into this world after all. After a while, the event started to wind down, and people began gathering near the back of the gallery for drinks. Liam excused himself to speak with a few potential investors, leaving Emma to wander around the space on her own. As she walked between the exhibits, she couldn't help but think about how far she had come. She had been a waitress, struggling to make ends meet, and now she was standing in the middle of a prestigious art gallery with people who seemed to have everything. It was overwhelming, but at the same time, it felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. Her thoughts were interrupted when she felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned to see Liam standing behind her, holding 2 glasses of wine. "Here," he said, handing her one of the glasses. "I thought you might need this." "Thanks," Emma said, taking the glass from him. She was surprised by how nervous she felt all of a sudden. It was like being back at that restaurant again, unsure of what to say or do. Liam smiled at her, noticing the shift in her demeanor. "You okay?" he asked, his voice gentle. "Yeah," Emma said, taking a deep breath. It's all a little overwhelming, you know? But in a good way." Liam's eyes softened. "I get it. And I'm really proud of you, Emma. You've worked so hard to get here, and you deserve everything that's coming your way." Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest. She wasn't used to hearing words like that, not from someone like him. It made her feel like she could finally believe in herself, like she wasn't just waiting for things to happen, but making them happen. They stood there in comfortable silence for a few moments, watching the other guests mingle. The world felt a little smaller in that moment, and Emma realized how much she enjoyed Liam's company. But just as the thought crossed her mind, the sound of a loud crash echoed through the gallery. She turned quickly to see a man knocking over a display of sculptures near the back. People gasped, and Claire rushed over to see what happened. Liam immediately stood up straight, his expression shifting from relaxed to professional. "Excuse me," he said to Emma, before walking quickly toward the chaos. Emma watched him go, a sense of unease bubbling inside her. She didn't know why, but something about the way he handled the situation made her think that maybe, just maybe, there was more to Liam than she had first realized. He wasn't just a tech guy with a hidden soft side, there was a world of responsibility and power behind that calm demeanor. And as he walked back toward her, his posture confident as ever, she knew that her life was about to change in ways she couldn't yet understand. The following week, Emma found herself in a familiar position, sitting at a small, quiet coffee shop, her hands nervously wrapping around a warm cup as she waited for Liam to arrive. She had been trying to focus on her sketchbook, working on a few new pieces for a local exhibition, but her mind kept drifting back to him, back to that night at the gallery. What had started as a simple coffee invitation had somehow turned into something more. She couldn't explain it, but she felt like Liam was someone who understood her in a way no one else had. When he'd stepped into her life, even for just a brief moment, everything seemed to make sense. His kindness, his encouragement, it was all so real. Just when Emma was beginning to wonder if he was really going to show up, the door opened, and there he was. Liam walked in with his usual relaxed confidence, dressed casually but looking effortlessly stylish. He caught her eye immediately, and his face broke into a smile that made Emma's heart flutter. "Hey, Emma," he said warmly, walking over and taking a seat across from her. "Sorry I'm late, I had a few things to take care of." "It's okay," she replied, her voice steady, though she couldn't stop the nervous excitement bubbling inside her. "I'm glad you made it." Liam smiled, his gaze softening as he looked at her. "I promised I would," he said, settling into his chair. "And besides, I wanted to see how your art was coming along. You've got a talent, Emma." Her cheeks flushed at the compliment, but she brushed it off, trying to keep the conversation light. "It's still a work in progress," she admitted, "but I'm getting there. I have a long way to go before I can really call myself an artist." Liam's expression turned serious, his eyes never leaving hers. "Don't sell yourself short. You've got something special. I've seen the way you talk about your dreams, how passionate you are. That's more than most people ever have." Emma was quiet for a moment, absorbing his words. No one had ever really seen her that way before. Not like this. It was hard to believe that someone like Liam, someone who had so much, would take the time to even notice her, let alone care about her work. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. They sat there in silence for a few moments, the only sound between them being the soft clink of coffee cups and the hum of background chatter from other patrons. Emma could feel the weight of the moment, the connection between them deepening in ways she wasn't sure how to navigate. Finally, Liam broke the silence. "So, what's next for you, Emma? I mean, you've already got your foot in the door with the exhibition. What's the big dream?" Emma hesitated, unsure of how to voice the ambition she had carried for so long. She had always been afraid that if she said it out loud, it would sound too big, too unrealistic. But something about Liam's presence made her feel like she could share this part of herself. "I want to open my own studio," she said slowly, her eyes meeting his. "A space where artists can come together, learn, create, something that's not just about the art, but about community. A place where people can feel safe and free to express themselves without fear of judgment. I want to help people find their voice through art." She paused, looking down at her coffee. "I know it sounds a little crazy, but it's my dream." Liam leaned forward, his gaze intense. "It doesn't sound crazy," he said firmly. "It sounds like exactly what the world needs. And I think you can make it happen. If anyone can, it's you." His words hit her harder than she expected. She had heard compliments before, but something about the way Liam spoke to her, like he truly believed in her, made her feel like maybe she wasn't just chasing a fleeting fantasy. Maybe her dream was closer than she thought. "I've been thinking about that a lot lately," Emma admitted, her voice growing more confident. "And I'm ready to take the leap. I don't know where to start." Liam smiled, the expression full of encouragement. "Sometimes the hardest part is taking that first step. But once you do, you'll be amazed at how everything starts to fall into place." Emma nodded slowly, the weight of his words settling in her chest. He was right. It wasn't going to be easy, but she had been given a chance, one she wasn't going to waste. "Thanks, Liam," she said softly. "I needed to hear that." As they continued to talk, the conversation flowed effortlessly. Emma found herself sharing more than she had expected, opening up about her fears, her hopes, and even the doubts she had carried for years. Liam listened without judgment, offering advice and insight when needed, but mostly, he just let her speak. It was the first time in a long time that she felt truly heard. The evening wore on, and before long, they were both finishing their coffee. Emma felt a warmth in her chest, not just from the drink, but from the connection she had forged with Liam. He wasn't just a guy she had met by accident anymore. He was someone who had shown her a new way of thinking, someone who believed in her when she hadn't even believed in herself. As they stood to leave, Liam turned to her, a thoughtful expression on his face. "I know this might be a little forward, but if you ever need anything, help with your studio, anything at all, just let me know. I'm serious. You're doing something amazing, Emma, and I want to be a part of it." Emma stared at him, surprised by the sincerity in his voice. For a moment, she was speechless. She didn't know what to say. She hadn't expected this kind of support, this kind of belief from someone like Liam. "Thank you," she finally managed to say, her voice full of gratitude. "That means more to me than you know." Liam smiled, his eyes softening. "Anytime. And I'm looking forward to seeing where this journey takes you." As Emma stepped out of the coffee shop, the cool evening air greeted her, but she didn't feel cold. For the first time in a long time, she felt like maybe she wasn't as alone as she thought. She wasn't sure where this connection with Liam would go, but for the first time, she was willing to see where it might lead. The following days passed in a blur, and Emma found herself working harder than ever. Between her shifts at the diner and trying to organize her artwork for an upcoming show, she was barely able to sleep, but there was a sense of excitement in the air. Liam's words, his encouragement, kept playing in her mind. She couldn't shake the feeling that something big was just around the corner. She had spent so long dreaming about opening a studio, and now, for the first time, it didn't feel impossible. Every morning when she woke up, the thought of making it real gave her the energy to push through another long day. One evening, after a particularly long shift, Emma collapsed on her couch, exhausted but content. She had just finished preparing for the art show when her phone buzzed. She sat up and grabbed it, surprised to see Liam's name on the screen. "Hey, Emma. How's everything going?" the message read. She smiled, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. "Hey, Liam. It's going well. A bit busy, but I'm managing. How about you?" She hit send and set the phone down, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. It wasn't just about the art show anymore. Every conversation with Liam felt like it mattered, like he was genuinely invested in her success. The phone buzzed again, and she picked it up. "I'm glad to hear that. Listen, I've been thinking about our last conversation, and I wanted to ask you something. How would you feel about taking the next step in your dream? I have an idea that could help make it happen." Emma's heart skipped a beat. What did he mean by that? Her fingers trembled as she typed, "What do you mean? What do you have in mind?" A few moments passed before the reply came in. "I've been working on a project that could really benefit from the kind of creativity you have. It's a community initiative, and I think your art studio would be the perfect fit. What do you think? I can help get the funding and resources you need to start." Emma stared at the screen, her mind racing. Was he serious? This felt like a dream come true, but it was so unexpected that she almost didn't know how to respond. She took a deep breath and typed back, "Are you really offering me this? It sounds too good to be true." Liam's response was quick. "I wouldn't offer if I wasn't serious. You have the talent, Emma. I believe in what you're doing. Let's make it happen." Emma set the phone down again, her heart pounding. She couldn't believe what she was reading. This was exactly what she needed, but it was also so much more than she had ever imagined. This wasn't just about getting help for her studio anymore. It was about a partnership, a real opportunity to build something meaningful. After a few moments of contemplation, she typed her response. "I don't know what to say, this is more than I ever expected. But yes. Yes, I want to make it happen." The message sent, and she sat back, trying to process everything. It felt like her whole world was shifting in ways she never could have anticipated. She didn't know where this would lead, but for the first time, Emma felt like she wasn't just chasing a dream, she was living it. The next few days were a whirlwind of meetings, planning, and logistics. Liam made good on his word. He connected her with people who could help with the business side of things, securing resources for the studio. Emma felt like she was walking through a dream. Every step she took felt like it was bringing her closer to her goal. And with every call, every email, Liam was there, guiding her, offering support. He was more than just a mentor, he was becoming someone she trusted deeply. As the days went on, their bond deepened. They spent more time together, whether discussing business or just talking about life. Emma started to realize that she looked forward to their conversations in a way that she hadn't expected. There was something about Liam that made her feel seen, understood, like she mattered. But as much as she felt drawn to him, a part of her was still hesitant. She didn't want to read too much into things. He had helped her so much, but she didn't want to mistake his kindness for something more. One afternoon, as they sat in the small cafe near her apartment, going over some details for the studio, Emma finally decided to voice her thoughts. "Liam, I have to ask. Why are you doing all this for me? I mean, you don't have to. You've already helped me more than anyone ever has." Liam looked at her, his gaze softening. "I believe in you, Emma. And I believe in what you're trying to do. Helping you wasn't just about business. It's about something real. Something that matters." Emma felt her chest tighten at his words. She had been afraid to ask, but hearing him say that made everything feel so much clearer. "And you believe in me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He smiled, his expression sincere. "I do." The weight of his words hit her harder than she expected. It wasn't just about the studio anymore. It was about Liam, and how much he had come to mean to her. In that moment, something shifted between them. She felt it, an undeniable connection. But as much as she wanted to believe that it was more than just the project, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that she was being cautious for a reason. She had been hurt before, and as much as Liam had been there for her, she couldn't let herself fall too quickly. But as they stood up to leave the cafe, Liam placed a hand on her arm, his touch warm and reassuring. "Don't worry, Emma. I'm not going anywhere." And for the first time, she believed him. The days that followed were filled with a whirlwind of activity. Emma's dream of opening her own art studio had started to take shape, and with Liam's help, everything was moving faster than she ever imagined. She was busy with meetings, planning, and securing funding, but no matter how hectic things became, she couldn't stop thinking about him. The connection between them was undeniable. Liam had been more than just a mentor, he had become someone who made her feel like she could accomplish anything. As the weeks passed, Emma felt herself growing closer to him, both professionally and personally. They spent more time together, often discussing the studio or just talking about their lives. It was during one of those conversations that Emma realized something had changed. She had been so focused on her work, on making the studio a reality, that she hadn't allowed herself to consider how Liam truly made her feel. It wasn't just about the project anymore, it was about him. She was drawn to his confidence, his kindness, and the way he always seemed to understand her. One evening, after a long day of work, Emma met Liam for dinner at a small Italian restaurant he'd recommended. The atmosphere was warm and cozy, with candlelight flickering on the tables and soft music playing in the background. They sat across from each other, enjoying a quiet moment together, and for the first time in a while, Emma felt a sense of peace wash over her. Liam looked at her with a smile, his eyes soft but intense. "How's everything going with the studio?" he asked, his voice calm and steady. "It's going really well," Emma replied, taking a sip of her wine. "I'm amazed at how quickly everything is falling into place. It's still a lot of work, but with the funding and support I've gotten, I think I can make this happen." Liam nodded, his smile widening. "I knew you could do it. You've got the drive and the passion. That's what matters the most." Emma smiled back, but she couldn't help but feel a flutter in her chest at the way Liam was looking at her. There was something different in his gaze, something more than just admiration for her work. For a moment, she allowed herself to wonder if maybe he felt the same way about her as she did about him. But just as quickly as the thought entered her mind, she pushed it aside. She couldn't afford to get distracted, not when everything she had worked for was finally coming together. As they continued their meal, the conversation flowed easily, and Emma found herself laughing at the stories Liam told. There was something about the way he made her feel, like she was the only person in the room. She was so caught up in the moment that she almost didn't notice when he reached across the table, gently touching her hand. The simple gesture sent a jolt of warmth through her, and she looked up, meeting his gaze. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The air between them was thick with unspoken words, and Emma could feel her heart racing. She didn't know what was happening, but she knew one thing for sure: this was more than just a professional connection. She felt it in her bones. Liam's voice broke the silence, soft and steady. "Emma, I need to tell you something. I've been thinking about this for a while now, and I don't want to keep it to myself any longer." Emma's pulse quickened. What was he going to say? "I've been helping you with the studio, but the truth is, it's not just about that," Liam continued, his gaze never leaving hers. "It's about you. I've come to realize that I care about you more than I expected." Emma's breath caught in her throat. Did he just say what she thought he said? "Liam, she started, but her voice faltered. She wasn't sure what to say. She had spent so long convincing herself that this was just about the studio, that it was about building her future, that she hadn't allowed herself to acknowledge the feelings that had been growing between them. But now, with Liam's confession hanging in the air, everything felt different. He squeezed her hand gently, his expression sincere. "I don't want to rush you, Emma. I just wanted you to know how I feel. I think about you all the time, and I want to be a part of your life, not just as someone helping with the studio, but as someone who cares about you." Emma felt her heart swell, the words hitting her harder than she expected. She had never imagined that Liam could feel this way about her, but now that he had said it, the reality of it seemed impossible to ignore. She took a deep breath, her mind spinning with the emotion swirling inside her. "I care about you too, Liam," she said softly, the words coming out more easily than she thought. "I've been trying not to think about it, but I can't deny how I feel. I've been so focused on the studio and everything else, but when I'm with you, it feels like everything else fades away." A slow smile spread across Liam's face, and for a moment, Emma felt like the world had stopped spinning. This was it, the moment she had been afraid to acknowledge, the moment she realized that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't alone anymore. They sat there for a while, holding hands and letting the quiet settle around them. It wasn't the grand declaration Emma had imagined, but it was enough. In that moment, she knew that no matter what happened with the studio, no matter where their lives took them, she had someone who truly saw her, someone who cared about her in a way that was real and genuine. And for the first time in a long time, Emma felt like she had finally found her place. The studio, the future, it all felt possible now. But most importantly, she realized that she had found something even more valuable than her dream. She had found love, and it was everything she had hoped for. The days following their quiet confession were both exciting and overwhelming for Emma. The studio was finally coming together, and thanks to Liam's support, everything seemed to be moving at lightning speed. Meetings were set up, spaces were secured, and funding was falling into place. But despite the excitement of seeing her dream unfold, Emma couldn't shake the whirlwind of emotions that had followed Liam's confession. She had always told herself that love and career didn't mix, that she needed to focus solely on her art and nothing else. But now, with Liam in her life, everything felt like it was changing, and she wasn't sure how to handle it. She had always been fiercely independent, fighting to make it on her own. But Liam's support, his unwavering belief in her, was hard to ignore. Every time they spoke, she felt seen and understood in a way she hadn't before. He wasn't just helping her with her career, he was helping her believe in herself again. Emma had never felt this way before, and it both thrilled and terrified her. One evening, as she sat in her small apartment working on sketches for the studio's opening, her phone buzzed. She picked it up to see a message from Liam. "How about dinner tonight? I want to celebrate how far you've come." A smile tugged at her lips, and for a moment, she considered saying no, she had so much work to do. But then she thought about how much Liam had been there for her, how much he had done to help her get to this point. The least she could do was spend some time with him. She quickly typed a response, "I'd love to. Let's do it." They agreed to meet at a quiet restaurant that Liam knew well, a place where they could relax and talk without distractions. When she arrived, Liam was already there, sitting at a table by the window, his eyes lighting up when he saw her. He stood up to greet her with a warm smile. "You look amazing," he said, his voice genuine. "Thanks," Emma replied, feeling a blush rise to her cheeks. She had dressed simply but felt beautiful in the moment. As they sat down and the waiter brought them drinks, Emma couldn't help but feel a sense of comfort in Liam's presence. It was different from the first time they met. There was no awkwardness, no uncertainty. It was just them, enjoying each other's company, as if they had known each other for much longer. "So," Liam began, his tone casual, "tell me what's next for you. What's the next big step for the studio?" Emma smiled, the excitement returning as she thought about the future. "Well, we're working on the opening event. I want it to be a place where people can feel like they belong, like they can really connect with their creativity. I've been planning workshops, collaborations, things that will bring the community together." She leaned forward slightly, her eyes lighting up. "And I'm hoping to start a mentorship program. I know how hard it can be for young artists to get the support they need, and I want to be that support for them." Liam listened intently, his eyes never leaving her face. "That's incredible," he said softly. "You're doing something amazing, Emma. You're not just building a studio, you're building a space for people to grow, to find their voices." His words made Emma's heart swell. She had always dreamed of creating something more than just a space for her own work. She had wanted to create a community, a place where people could find inspiration and strength in each other. "I never thought I'd get here," she admitted, her voice softening. "I always thought it was just a pipe dream, something I could never make happen. But now I believe in it. I believe in myself." Liam reached across the table, his hand gently brushing hers. "I always believed in you," he said, his voice steady. "You just had to see it for yourself." Emma felt a lump form in her throat. The way he looked at her, the sincerity in his eyes, made her feel like she could conquer anything. "I don't know what I'd do without you, Liam," she whispered. Liam's expression softened, and he gave her hand a gentle squeeze. "You'll never have to find out," he said, his voice warm. "I'm here. Always." The moment hung between them, thick with unspoken emotions. Emma realized, with a sense of clarity she hadn't expected, that this was more than just a partnership, this was something real, something deeper than either of them had anticipated. She had spent so much time focusing on her career, her dream, but now she realized that the people who supported her, who truly cared for her, were just as important. And Liam, in so many ways, had become that person for her. As they continued their dinner, the conversation shifted from work to more personal topics, and Emma felt herself opening up to him in ways she never had before. She talked about her childhood, her struggles, her fears. She had always kept her walls up, afraid that if she let anyone in, they would only let her down. But with Liam, everything felt different. He listened, never judging, always supporting, and for the first time in a long time, Emma felt like she could be her true self. When dinner came to an end, Liam stood up and offered her his arm, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "Shall we go for a walk? I'm not ready to say goodbye just yet." Emma smiled, slipping her arm through his. "I'd like that." As they walked through the quiet streets, the city lights casting a soft glow around them, Emma couldn't help but feel like she was exactly where she was meant to be. With Liam by her side, she had everything she needed to make her dreams come true. And for the first time in a long time, she realized that maybe, just maybe, the future was brighter than she had ever imagined. The night after their walk, Emma returned to her apartment with a warmth in her chest she had not felt in years. Everything felt right, almost too right, and that thought alone made her uneasy. Good things in her life had always come with a cost, and she could not help but wonder if this happiness with Liam was something she truly deserved. Still, she held on to the hope that maybe, this time, things would be different. Over the next few days, the preparations for the studio's soft opening intensified. Emma threw herself into finalizing the layout, organizing materials, and coordinating with the artists who would be part of the first community workshops. Even with the overwhelming workload, she found herself smiling more often, her thoughts drifting back to Liam and the way he made her feel seen and understood. But amid the excitement, something unexpected began to shift. One afternoon, as she sorted through supplies in the back room of the soon-to-open studio, she overheard two workers whispering near the entrance. I cannot believe the CEO of Parker Innovations is the one funding this place, one of them said in awe. He never gets involved in small local projects. This girl must be really important. Emma froze, her breath catching in her throat. CEO? Parker Innovations? She felt her heart thud painfully in her chest. Liam had told her he worked in tech, but he had never mentioned being a CEO, let alone of a massive corporation she had heard about countless times on the news. She stepped forward slowly, her mind racing as the workers continued talking. I heard he even cancelled a multi-million-dollar conference just to come here last week, one of them added with a laugh. If that is not dedication, I do not know what is. Emma backed away, her throat tightening. She felt dizzy, overwhelmed, and betrayed. Why had Liam not told her the truth? Why had he pretended to be just some guy in tech when he was someone with real power, influence, and wealth? She stumbled into the storage room, leaning against the wall as the realization washed over her. All this time, she had believed that they were equals, two people trying to find their place in the world. But now, everything felt like a lie. Her phone buzzed, jolting her from her spiraling thoughts. It was a message from Liam. Just finished a meeting. Can I stop by the studio later? I want to see how everything is coming together. Emma stared at the screen, her hands trembling. She wanted to ignore it, to shut him out completely, but she could not. She needed answers. Sure, she typed back, her heart pounding, come by. When Liam arrived at the studio that evening, Emma was waiting for him near the entrance, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. He walked in with his usual warm smile, but it faded when he saw the look on her face. Emma? What is wrong? He asked, concern evident in his voice. She took a shaky breath, struggling to keep her voice steady. Why did you not tell me? Liam blinked. Tell you what? That you are the CEO of Parker Innovations. The words came out sharper than she intended, but she could not help it. She had never felt so blindsided. Liam's expression shifted, a flash of guilt crossing his eyes. Emma, I was going to tell you, or when, she cut him off. When were you going to tell me that you are one of the most powerful people in the city? When were you going to tell me that all of this, she gestured around the studio, her voice trembling, came from someone I did not even truly know? Liam stepped toward her, but she backed away. He paused, exhaling slowly. Emma, I never lied to hurt you. I wanted you to see me as a person, not as a title. I wanted you to get to know me without the weight of who I am. But you did not give me a choice, she whispered, her eyes stinging. You decided what I should know and when I should know it. That is not honesty, Liam. That is control. He flinched as if her words were a physical blow. I am sorry, he said softly. I was afraid that if you knew the truth from the beginning, everything between us would change. And I did not want to lose what we had. Emma shook her head, tears burning behind her eyes. You should have trusted me, she said, her voice breaking. You should have been honest. Liam reached for her, but she stepped back again, her heart aching. Emma, please, he said quietly, I care about you more than you know. She swallowed hard, her voice barely a whisper. Then you should have told me the truth. The silence between them was heavy, suffocating. Liam finally lowered his hand, his expression filled with regret. If you need space, I understand, he said gently. But I am not giving up on us. Not now. Not ever. Emma looked away, unable to meet his eyes. She needed time, time to think, time to breathe, time to understand whether the man she had fallen for was the real Liam or just a version he had chosen to show her. As he quietly exited the studio, Emma stood alone in the dim light, her heart torn between love and uncertainty. The future felt shaky, unpredictable, and she could not help but wonder if something this beautiful could survive a truth this heavy. Days passed in a blur of silence and reflection. Emma threw herself into her work, focusing on the studio's upcoming launch and trying to ignore the ache in her heart. The conversations with Liam had stopped, and she couldn't deny the heaviness she felt every time she thought about him. She had always prided herself on her independence, but now, she realized, she had never felt more vulnerable. Was it worth it to open her heart again, only to have it shaken by the truth? She spent hours at the studio, rearranging canvases, making sure everything was perfect for the opening. But no matter how much she tried to distract herself, the question lingered: was she ready to forgive Liam? Was she ready to believe that he truly cared for her, despite his secret? One evening, as she was locking up the studio, she noticed a familiar figure standing outside. Her heart skipped a beat, and she recognized him instantly: Liam. He was standing by the door, hands in his pockets, waiting for her. For a moment, she froze, unsure of what to do. The last time they had spoken, things had been left unsaid, the air thick with unspoken words. Slowly, she walked toward him, her steps hesitant but determined. Liam, she said softly. He looked up, his eyes filled with both hope and regret. Emma, he said, his voice quiet. I know I messed up. I didn't mean to hurt you, and I understand if you need space. He paused, taking a deep breath. But I can't just walk away. I can't let you go without at least trying to make things right. Emma looked at him, her heart in turmoil. She wanted to be angry, to walk away and never look back. But deep down, she knew that wasn't what she wanted. She had spent so much time building walls around herself, afraid of letting anyone in, and yet, with Liam, it felt like she had finally found someone who truly understood her. You should have told me the truth, Liam, she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. You should have trusted me. I wanted to know the real you from the start. He nodded, guilt washing over his face. I know, he said softly. I should have told you. But I was scared. I was scared that if you knew who I really was, you wouldn't want anything to do with me. I didn't want to lose what we had. Emma looked at him, the weight of his words sinking in. She had always been afraid of people leaving when they found out the truth. She had always thought that love could never be real if it was based on lies. But now, standing before Liam, she realized that love was about more than just the perfect version of someone. It was about accepting their flaws, their mistakes, and still choosing to stay. I don't want to lose what we have either, Emma said softly, her voice trembling. But I need to know that you're not hiding anything else from me. Liam reached for her hand, his grip warm and steady. I'm not hiding anything else, he said, his eyes locking with hers. I promise. I want to be with you, Emma. All of me. The good, the bad, and everything in between. Emma took a deep breath, her mind racing. She wasn't sure what the future held, but in this moment, she realized something important. She didn't have to have all the answers. She didn't need everything to be perfect. What mattered was that they were here, together, and that they were willing to be vulnerable with each other. Okay, she said finally, her voice soft but confident. Let's take it one step at a time. Liam's face lit up with a smile, his eyes shining with relief. One step at a time, he repeated. As they stood there, hand in hand, Emma felt a sense of peace she hadn't felt in a long time. She wasn't sure what the future held, but she knew that with Liam by her side, she was ready to face it. The studio's opening came and went, and it was everything Emma had dreamed of. The space was filled with laughter, creativity, and a sense of community. She watched as artists and creators came together, sharing their work and their stories. The mentorship program she had envisioned was now a reality, and it brought her so much joy to see the impact it was having on others. And through it all, Liam was there, supporting her every step of the way. He wasn't just the CEO of a tech company, he was the man who had shown her that love wasn't about perfection, it was about honesty, vulnerability, and being there for each other, no matter what. A few months later, Emma and Liam stood together at the gallery, surrounded by friends, artists, and members of the community they had built. The space was alive with energy, and as Emma looked around, she couldn't help but feel a deep sense of pride and gratitude. She had built more than just a studio. She had built a place where people could come together, share their passions, and create something meaningful. And in the process, she had found something even more precious than her dream. She had found a partner, someone who loved her for who she truly was, flaws and all. As the evening came to a close, Liam turned to her, his hand resting gently on the small of her back. "You did it," he said, his voice filled with admiration. "You made it happen." Emma smiled, her heart full. "We did it," she corrected, her eyes meeting his. "Together." The future was still uncertain, but in that moment, Emma knew one thing for sure: she wasn't alone. She had Liam by her side, and that made all the difference. With him, she was ready to face whatever came next, knowing that they had built something strong and real. And no matter what the future held, they would face it together.